Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ask a NaviGuide, part of the Abundant Aging podcast series from United Church Homes. On this show, we tackle subjects in aging and family caregiving that can be stressful to work through, and we do it with tips and advice from the United Church Homes NaviGuide team. Our NaviGuides have decades of experience helping families work through these issues, and we hope that what we share in the show will help everyone, everywhere, age with abundance. Today, we're lucky to have our NaviGuide Jennifer with us, and who's going to help us understand food insecurity and the types of food programs that are out there that can help. And I know that there's a lot of options, so we're going to dive into it. But hello, Jennifer.
Hi, Mike.
Good to see you again. Before we get started, we got to read this statement. The opinions shared in this podcast are those of our amazing NaviGuides and hosts and are not meant to convey nor take the place of clinical, legal, or other professional advice. So, as we always do, we just like to start these things out by sort of introducing you, Jennifer, or really having you introduce yourself. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do as a NaviGuide, where you're located, and the types of people that you serve every day?
Sure. I am a NaviGuide in northern Indiana, in Marshall County, Elkhart County, Indiana. I work in two affordable housing communities that serves individuals 62 and older.
But you do a lot. I mean, I just think about everything our NaviGuides do. I mean, you can be obviously we're talking to you right now about food insecurity issues, but I mean, gosh, you're arranging transportation, you're giving advice around different types of health insurance coverage, you're dealing with hospital discharges, I know you're probably dealing with all sorts of family dynamics, and I'm guessing every day as a NaviGuide is absolutely the same, right? You come in and you do just the same thing day in and day out. That's I'm accurate there, right?
Yes, sure. Yeah, every single day is the same. We don't do anything different from day to day. We just sit at our desk and, kind of hope that people come in and need our help. And no, I'm kidding. So, what we do as Nava guys is we assist them, or the individuals that we serve, we assist them with obtaining supportive services, which allow them to age in place. So, if that's what they want to do, we take a very holistic approach to our jobs and the individual, meaning we look at the whole person. We don't just look at one little part of each person, and then we address the needs based on that individual's needs and or desires. So we don't take a one size fits all approach. We understand that what the needs of our seniors are, and then we get them assistance through qualified providers. So it's a great job. I've worked in long-term care facilities and social services, and I did interact with individuals that really they would have rather been at home. And some of them probably could have remained in their homes if someone had assisted them by just putting a few supports in place. And so I get to do that as an
That's amazing. And just tell me, true or not, when you actually engage people as people, meet them where they are, and put supports in place that really work with their motivations, their goals, I'm guessing that might help a bit, right? Actually, that holistic model of support.
Yeah, it absolutely helps. I mean, you know, uh, you hear so often you have to meet people where they're at. And that is just absolutely true. A lot of people, they say there, but they don't really, they want to force the services onto people that they feel they need. So, it never works when you do that kind of thing. People have a right to choose. Whether I agree with their decision or not, they have a right to choose. So I have to approach people, as individuals, and I have to understand what they desire. So, do they want to stay in their home? Is that their desire? So what can I do to help them do that? And it has to be able to meet their, we all grew up differently. We all have different belief systems. We all have all of these things that have just created who we are. So I can approach them from my own mindset. I have to be able to approach them from their mindset and the things that they're going to find suitable to their need. And, that just also comes back to dignity. I have to do this with dignity because if I sit there and I tell everyone what they need and I tell them, then basically I'm treating them like a child. And these are people that we should be looking up to. These are the people that, they live life. They have so much experience. They have so much wisdom. And so I need to treat them with that dignity and respect and meet them where they're at and just kind of push my beliefs on.
And it reminds me of the difference between the golden rule and the platinum rule. The golden rule, treat others as you would like to be treated. Platinum rule, treat others as they would like to be treated. And man, that really brings that home for me. In our previous podcast, we talked about just that, recognizing the signs of food insecurity, recognizing the stigmas that might be there that may prevent someone from wanting to seek help, or even, knowing that there's different options out there. So certainly, with that model we just discussed, I mean, it's a great best practice to get people to open up and say, yeah, I'm willing to try something. But there's a lot of different options out there. And I know that you're speaking from your experience in Northern Indiana, but I think as we, did some pre-prep for this meeting, the types of things that you're seeing here in the United States are often things that are pretty, popular or at least common in other areas of the country. So I think that we got you as a great proxy for a lot of the different things that are out there. But when we talk about kind of the types of food insecurity programs that are out there, what typically do you see?
Oh, there's quite a few different programs out there available to most people. Many of these programs are federal programs, so they are across the United States. We have the Congregate meal site. We have meal delivery programs. We have food bank in, every county. And then, of course, there's food pantries that people can utilize. And then another federal program would be the waiver programs.
The waiver through health insurance, Medicaid, Medicare waiver program. Well, let's spend some time going through each of that, if that's okay. You mentioned a congregate meal site. What is a congregate meal site?
Okay. The Congregate Meal Program provides nutritious meals to individuals 60 years and older and also their spouses. They don't have to meet the age
Even if they're
requirement.
younger than 60?
If you're married to someone under, a 60-year-old, you're free to come and eat with them as well. These programs typically run Monday through Friday, and they are at various locations. This program it's a federal program funded through the Older Americans Act. And then, of course, state and local resources are used to help, you know, with added funding. If you participate in the congregate meals, there is a donation amount that they recommend, but no one's turned away if they can't pay. They just have a donation box out there. Nobody's paying attention to who's putting money in there. So, you don't have to worry about if somebody's, you know, you don't have to worry about it if someone's not. It's not like they come up and collect money. Nobody knows. So you're free to come and participate regardless of where you pay. The congregate meal sites are actually, they're created to reduce hunger and food insecurity and, of course, malnutrition, but they also promote socialization and they support overall health and well being. They conduct health screenings and they provide nutrition education during these mm, y- lunches as well. The only challenge that I see with this program is that um, people might feel uncomfortable eating in front of others. And, we previously discussed maybe dental issues or I see hearing issues. Sometimes people have severe hearing issues. And so they feel uncomfortable participating in a congregate meal because they can't really participate in the conversation.
Yeah, congregate meal means that it's a location that you go to and you're eating with a bunch of other people, right?
Yes, that's correct. They're not grab and go programs. You don't just go pick up your food and leave. You have to eat the meal on site rather than in your home. So you find a meal site location and and you go in there and you have your meal with everybody else. So that kind of causes a couple other barriers as well with having to do. You have to find the meal site location, and then you have to get yourself there. Can cause an issue if you have transportation issues or mobility issues. And then that also brings back the whole people don't want to accept charity. But this part we can overcome by just saying, hey, it's not charity because if you want to participate, you can give a small donation if you want to, and it's about socializing and things like that. So it is a really great program.
Yeah, and I guess 2 questions I have kind of, in thinking about that. First of all, I know that you actually operate a congregate meal site at one of our locations, so I wanna ask about how locations may kind of put up their hands and offer that. But if I'm a person that wants to find a congregate meal site in my area, where would I go? Would I just, like, Google it or
You can do that. You can Google it. I'm sure they come up. But you could also just, you can find the congregate meal sites through your local area on agency on aging. And you can find that information at eldercare.acl. So if you're not sure where your area agency on aging is or who they are, just go to that eldercare.acl.gov and, you know, just type in your zip code and they're going to be able to connect you with the congregate meal site near you.
sorry, say the, URL again. It's elder care sorry,
Eldercare.acl.gov.
eldercare.acl.gov. Awesome. And then, for operating a congregate meal site, what sort of obligations are involved?
Okay, so I'll just kind of walk you through the process. If you want to become a meal site program or organization that hosts these meal sites, so both of my buildings we are congregate meal sites. It's actually a pretty easy process. So first off, you need to contact your area agency on aging and let them know that you're interested in doing that. At that point, we would kinda look around the area and see if a site is needed in that area. Another thing they might do, so like for me, where I work, we're housing, so we have people that live right there. So we have the population that they're looking for and, so I can already offer the amount of people, the minimum amount of people that they would require in order um, to host a mill site. So that's kind of the things they would look for. Is there already a program in the area? And even if there is, do you have enough people of your own that would participate in order to, allow them to open a site there? If you are approved, pretty simple. Mhm. You basically sign a service agreement with the congregate mill site. So with your area agency on aging, you're agreeing to their specified days and times that they're going to come into your building. You're letting them know they're going to have use of your kitchen, your community room during that time. You're allowing other people to come into your building as well during those times. So other community people that live in the community, they can participate in this program. So you have to open your doors to that as well. Typically they come around 10 o'clock. So you're going to host a coffee hour or allow them to, which is a lot of socialization for the individuals to participate in this. And
And of course, they're not charging anything for us, right? I mean, they come in, they bring in the food. I mean, you'll have to clean up and things like that, but it sounds like it's pretty turnkey.
it is actually very turnkey. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to, right. It doesn't cost you anything, but all you have to do is be willing to have open your doors to people coming into your building. You don't do cleanup. You don't do any of that. You don't help
Oh,
prep
okay.
food. Nope, it all gets brought into you. The individual that will come from they're called mill site directors. They come into the building, usually from in my buildings, it's 10 to 1. They come in, they make the coffee, they, they serve the food, they do all the cleanup. So I don't have to do anything with that. The only thing that I have to do is make sure that there's available space in our fridge that we have
Okay.
functioning
Yep.
appliances in our kitchen. And annually, we do your local health department. They come in and do a check on the location and make sure that that it meets their requirements as well. So that's something you don't have to do, just meet them, which is really a big deal. It's a great program.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Okay, so just to sum up, congregate meal sites, you can find them through your local area agency on aging. You can Google it. If you want to give a donation, great. If not, that's okay. You can come in. Your spouses, if they're younger than the age 62, they can eat with you. You got to eat it there. You can't take it back to your room. You can't take it back to your house. And so it's for people that can actually have the transport to get there. So switching gears, let's talk a little bit about the meal delivery programs. I mean, I think Meals on Wheels is probably the most well known. So, in what situation would you recommend like a Meals on Wheels, or who are those types of programs for?
So there's a couple different meal delivery programs. Meals on Wheels, you're right, is the most food delivery program. So for those people that I would recommend for those would be those that, have more difficulty, with mobility and things of that nature. The Meals on Wheels, that is a need-based program. So you have to be 60 and older, of course, and then you have to meet certain requirements as far as your ADL or activity of daily living deficiencies in order to qualify for. Um, they provide services, for Meals on Wheels, you would go through a little assessment process. You would do the application, would see if you qualify. The thing about Meals on Wheels is that it is a federal program, so it's throughout the country. Each organization kind of handles the program differently. So, and I know that that's because, some areas are just going to have, they just have a high demand for it, and others maybe don't have as high of a demand, so they can lessen those requirements a little bit more. But it really is a needs-based program, 60 or older. Some of them work on like a sliding scale fee, so it's based on the income or ability to pay. So that can range anywhere from them telling you you don't have to pay anything to you would have full price for it. I know they say that, but once again, just like the congregate meals, no one's turned away for failure to pay. This is also funded under It's also funded under the Older Americans, and then state and local resources also assist with program. You know, Depending on the demand program, though, you could be waitlist.
Sure. Hey, and with Meals on Wheels, I've seen it where, often they're giving people maybe a stack of frozen meals at once. Is that typical? So you have to have room in your fridge or freezer for some of these meals?
That actually is not typical. So, what we see with Meals on Wheels during COVID, that is what we saw a lot. We also saw that in the congregate meals, they were kind of, because they still wanted people to have access to food. So, they were kind of preparing meals. So when we see the frozen meals, that's usually the other types of kind of mail order meal programs that we see, those like Mom's Meals or the Homestyle Direct. That's where we see kind of the more they're sometimes they're fresh, but those where you're getting like all your meals for the week. They're coming to your door, they're being shipped to you. Those programs actually usually function underneath Medicaid waiver. So if you've been approved for Medicaid waiver, that's where you would see those programs more often. But Meals on Wheels typically will bring a, a fresh meal to you daily.
Okay. Right, very cool. So, Meals on Wheels, you have to qualify for it. It's for people that could not get themselves to a congregate meal site. There'll be an assessment. It's needs based. Maybe you have to pay something, maybe not, but no one's turned away because of income. There's always an option. And you refer people to this. I think probably the local area agency on aging can do it as well. You can dial them up directly. So that's terrific. But mentioned the waiver programs, and I want to get into that next. So, waiver programs through health insurance, and it sounds like something you have to qualify for. Is that typically through, like, state Medicaid? Is it Medicare? What have you seen?
So the Medicaid waiver programs, they're through So they're also called the Home and Community-Based Services. So, or HCB. So if you hear Medicaid waiver or you hear HCBS, it's the same thing. That's what they're talking about. So these programs, they help support those long-term support and services that individuals may need in their home. So they do that rather than individuals having to go to long-term care facilities. Medicaid waiver has income and asset guidelines, and those vary by state. So once again, it's a federal program. Every single state's going to have some sort of waiver program, but the states kind of get to set the guidelines then for those. So in Indiana, there's an income limit of $2,742 and then an asset limit of $2,000. But you need to remember that this asset does not include the home that you're living in or your one personal vehicle. They don't include that in your assets. So your assets would be more, you know, the money that you have in the bank, or if you have stocks, different things of that, even whole life insurance, that would be
Okay, so that's important. Whole life insurance can be considered an asset. Okay, good to know.
yes. And a lot of people don't realize that, but it is because it has a cash value. You can cash those in. Anything that has a cash value that you can gain money from right now is considered so this with Medicaid waiver program, if you're approved for that, and you would once again, you could receive those mail order meals. But, but there's a lot of other things that you could receive through that program as well. And I know this is about food, so I don't want to get too far in depth with those things, but there are so many, you could get those homemaker services, you could get, things like attendant care, a shower aid, different things of that nature.
Yeah, so I mean, the home and community-based services, HCBS, otherwise LTSS, long-term services and supports, income requirements, asset requirements. I've got a note here. So Medicaid itself would not qualify you for getting into one of these programs. You'd go through an area agency on aging or that sort of. Is that true?
That's absolutely true. So, the way that Medicaid waiver is, just to explain it briefly. So it is an income asset guideline. You have to meet those. Once once you have met then it is a needs-based program. So what's going to happen is they're going to assess each individual based off of their activities of daily living. That's what they do. So what's activities of daily living? Is your ability to walk, ambulation. So that's what is your ability to transfer. So can you get up from a seated position? So that's what they're going to assess you for. In order to qualify for Medicaid waiver, you have to have three of daily living deficiencies. So walking, transferring, dressing, grooming, eating, bathing. So how difficult is it for you to perform these activities? Do you have to have an assistive device or hands-on assistance in order to complete them? So then the LTSSs, which is the same as the
HCBSs, right? And by the way, just a top tip for people, just top tip, we actually discussed this in a previous episode that if you are, in conversations with your doctor, insurance plan, or what have you, if you do run across what I like to call TLAs or three-letter acronyms, or in this case, four-letter, always take time to say, what is that? What does that mean? Most people won't know it, so don't feel embarrassed. So sorry, bit of an aside, but yeah.
That's absolutely true. And since there's so many kind of different things that mean the same thing, just ask those questions because it can get very, very confusing. So it's always okay and actually in your best interest to just ask those questions. So this waiver program is way more than food, as I previously said. You and if you're approved for it, you can receive services, the homemaker services, attendant care, shower aids, you can get therapy, you can get case management, but it's, like you said earlier, Medicaid is not what qualifies you for this. So just because you're on full Medicaid does not mean you automatically qualify for waiver services. So the way to go about doing these waiver services is, you have to do that referral to your area agency on aging. You can do that usually right on their website. So find out who your local area agency on aging. They have a very simple form, a referral form, most of them right on their website. You could call and do it too if you don't want to use the computer. Once that referral's made, they're going to do a brief phone interview with you to see if they can determine over the phone that you have a need. And during that phone interview, I have to say this because this happens so often. You need to be
Yeah.
honest. You have to be honest. Okay. So if you're asked if you have difficulty getting up from a seated position, and you can get up from a seated position, but you have to run 5 times to get out of that seat, or you have to hold on to something in order to get out of the seat. The answer is yes. You have difficulty getting up from a seated position. And sometimes the questions are, um, during the assessment, they're asked in a way that the general population may not understand. So, in general, it's a great idea to have someone that's familiar with that process, such as a navigator, present during those assessments.
That's awesome.
Once
And
you're
I also say here that even if you don't qualify for the full Medicaid program, you can still qualify. It's not just Medicaid. This is also available through Medicare, Medicare Advantage. They have these waiver programs. So if you're not a Medicaid recipient, there are still long-term services and supports or home and community-based services that you could qualify for. And the AAAs or the area agency on aging could be helpful there as well, I guess, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, just kinda that's how the process works. So, if you pass that phone interview, they're gonna come out and they're gonna do a complete assessment for you. That's what's gonna happen, and they're going to if they can determine need, so they're seeing that there's at least 3 deficiencies, ABL deficiencies, and they're gonna start that care plan for you. And that's kinda when the state comes in when we're dealing with Medicaid. So the area agency on aging or caseworker through there is going to do that care plan with you. And then it's going to be sent to the state for approval. The state approves it and says that you would qualify for Medicaid waiver. Which I just want to define what waiver means. It means that the state is determining that they're going to waive the normal income limit for full Medicaid, which is usually pretty low. I think it's 1,062 in Indiana, but as I told you, waiver is 27 something. So they're waiving that income limit so that you can qualify because they know that there's a need for you to have services in your home. So that's how the process works. But if you're denied the Medicaid, that doesn't mean that you can't receive waiver services. Now, often, the services you receive through your Medicare plans are short term. There are different payer sources that your area agency on aging has that can help assist with those, making sure that you're getting those long-term support and services in your home. So that's another thing. Just because you end up getting those supported services doesn't mean you have full Medicaid. So you need, people that gets a little bit confusing, those two. But don't just back because you're not approved for Medicaid because there are different payer sources.
Yeah, and even so, Jennifer, I mean, there's still even when we get beyond the congregate meal sites and then the Meals on Wheels and the waiver program, there's still other programs you can access. And I've got a note here about food banks and the role that they play, and the fact that calling your local food bank could put you on to maybe programs you're not even aware yet because they're the ones that deliver the food to the program.
That's absolutely right. So food banks are those nonprofit organizations that collect and store the food, and then they distribute them to your local food pantries or your soup kitchens or to other organizations that work with people. And then It's important to mention too that some food banks do have on-site pantries that are open to the public, and they are also the ones that they organize those dry food distribution sites as well. But most of the federal programs are going to run underneath the food. They handle them. So because of that, they are just an amazing resource. So there's a couple programs that I utilize through my local food bank. One is the Commodity Supplemental Food Program, and then the other one is the Senior Nutrition Program. And both of those programs target the older adults, so the population that I serve. So I can tell you a little bit about those programs if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
Okay, so the Commodity Supplemental Food Program is a national program. So every single one of us have access to participate in that program. That program is geared towards individuals 60 years of age and older. So if you are there, you could potentially receive access of shelf-stable food items monthly. This program does have an income guideline. So you have to be below or at or below the 130% of the federal poverty level, which is currently $1,580 a month for one person. So that's geared
Okay.
towards that. So if you meet that income level and you're 60 years or older, you could participate in that program. Other program that I utilize is called the Senior Nutrition Program. And this one is ran through my specific. So not every food bank may run this program, but mine does. So with this program, there's no income or asset guideline. You just have to be over 60. So I just communicate with my local food bank monthly. I tell them how many bags I want to come into my building that month, how many people, of my people want to participate in that program. They bring those bags right to me every single month. And I do call them bags, but they're n it's a lot of food. They do get a bag full of boxes, and you wanna get a box full of the shelf-stable items as well, but they also get bread and meat and fresh fruits and vegetables, so those come monthly as well. So, yeah, I
There's a lot of I'm so glad that we're covering each of these is because each in itself is just such a great resource. I mean, I've also got written down here. I mean, you can call 211 and go on 211.org and find, programs with the churches or the Lions Club, the Kiwanis Club, people that want to do food program. And also importantly for everyone, food donation programs. If you have extra food in the house, please, please, please take a moment and be generous and share it with the food banks in your area. And I know there's probably any number of ways you can find about local food drives, right?
yeah, there's just a whole yeah, there's lots of different ways that you can find different food programs. First off, you know, reach out to your local food bank. They're the ones that handle all of the programs. So reach out to them. They know what programs are going to, meet a specific population's needs. They know where they're overseeing these programs. So you can actually just reach out to them at the Feed America org. Just type in your zip code once again, and your local food pantry is going to pop up. The cool thing about that site, though, is not only is your local,
That's from Feeding America, right? The feeding.
yes, I'm sorry, feedingamerica.org.
Oh, okay, so feedingamerica.org. Feeding? Let's just say for everyone, it's either feedamerica.org or feedingamerica.org. You'll find it. But Feeding America, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. My fault.
No, that's all right.
So feedingamerica.org, great organization. And this is a longer episode, but I think it's just gold information because and also we talked before, that let's talk about the ugly vegetables a little bit, the ones that they don't feel that are suitable to actually go on the supermarket shelves. I mean, that's also people even specialize in that stuff because we make food and then we don't want to sell it because it's got a weird shape.
Yeah, yeah. So that is one I do want to clear. It is Feed America org.
Oh, it's Feed America. Got it.
Yeah, just so people know. yeah, click on, type that in, put your zip code in, find food, and then all of the pantries that are in your county are gonna pop up. So, yeah, great thing. So, yeah, the food program you're talking about, yeah, that's a great program. I mean, why still so they distribute that to people in need or different food pantries, things of that nature. I currently work with a program that is called Cultivate Food Rescue. What they do is very similar. They don't just focus on fruits and vegetables and things of that nature. So what they do is they work with area grocery stores, area bakeries, all of those type of places and get a lot of that ready-made food. So, we get a lot of wraps and salads and things of that nature. So they go collect those things before they've gone bad and they redistribute them into, programs like mine, or they do a big program for the schools. They use that. There's a lot of programs like that at the local levels. You just have to reach out, and 211 is an amazing thing to reach out to. Why I like 211? They're kind of that 911 for social services. So you can reach out to them. You can reach out to them at 211.org and, it's all online. You're gonna find all of your local organizations. You just put in your zip code. Or the fun thing about too, or the great thing about them, because a lot of people don't wanna use a computer, you can just dial 211 and they're gonna answer that phone and they're gonna, you know, be able to connect you with anything in your area that's gonna help meet your needs. But also, reach out to your local agencies, even the American Legion, the VFWs, Lions clubs, churches, things of that nature. They are going to be able to refer you to organizations that are going to assist you with whatever needs you have. They're in your communities, they work with the other agencies. So don't be afraid just because they're not actually, an agency that does that. Don't be afraid to ask because they have all of these resources right there.
And they wanna help. That's the thing, they wanna help. I mean, if you or a loved one, are experiencing issues where you feel don't have enough access to food that you feel is nutritious for you, feel is healthy for you. If you're having trouble getting out and getting food because of transport, if you feel like you can't get to a congregate meal site or feel embarrassed about there are all these options out there for you. Again, it's just something where people, I mean, it's gonna go to waste otherwise, so please take advantage. Anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up this episode, Jennifer?
The only other thing that I wanna say is that if you are an organization and you wanna start, you wanna become a distribution site for the commodity boxes or some of these senior nutrition programs, it's not that hard. The food bank makes fairly easy to go ahead and do. So just reach out to them. Let them know, hey, I have this whole group of people that participate in this program, but they're having difficulty getting over to that pantry to put that box or something. They're gonna work with you to make you a distribution site because usually what they're going that way anyway. So that, they told me, we're going that way. It's just as easy for us to drop these off at your location. So, when we do that, then we're eliminating some of those barriers because, with those commodity boxes, individuals, I think they're allowed to miss twice and then they
Okay.
are taken off the program. But if it's already in your building, if it's already where they're in, then they're not going to be at risk of losing that. So just reach out to your food bank. They're also the ones that know every single specific program because they're the ones running them. They know they're going to be able to tell you about your target population and services that are available to them surrounding food. And you might be able just to get them right there at your own location.
Right. So just to run these down quickly again, we have our local area agency on aging. We have 211 as a great resources, local food banks like Feeding America, resources. And of course, our wonderful NaviGuides can be terrific resources. So, um, we do want to call out our NaviGuide program. And I'll do that as we bring this episode of Ask a NaviGuide to an end. And Jennifer, thank you so much for your wealth of knowledge. And thank you so much for sharing this on this show. And thank you, the listener, for listening. This is Ask a NaviGuide, part of the Abundant Aging podcast series brought to you by United Church Homes. If you like this week's show, please like, share, subscribe, as we always say. We are on YouTube at United Church Homes. You can also find every episode of this series at abundantagingpodcast.com. For more information about the UCH NaviGuide program, and that's both if you're at need and also if you're curious about bringing the types of programs that we described into your own organizations, please visit www.uchnaviguide.org and drop us a line or give us a call and let us know how we can be of help. We'd love to help, whether just for one time or month after month. So we're there for you. For more information about United Church Homes, please visit unitedchurchhomes.org. And again, thank you again for listening. We will see you next time.